everyone. Thank you so much for joining in Expo Osaka Kansai Theme Week's Agenda 2025, Necessities of Life, Food, Clothing, and Shelter, Session 3, Promoting Ethical Living. Hi, my name is Akiko Tsuchiya, and I'll be your MC for today's program. Expo 2025 Osaka Kansai organizes Theme Weeks, which are programs aimed at solving global-scale issues. Theme Weeks are special initiatives held during the World Expo. They take advantage of the unique setting where countries from around the world gather in one place for 6 months. During these weeks, experts from various fields, companies, government officials, and everyday citizens come together. They share knowledge, exchange experiences, and engage in dialogue. The goal is to find solutions to global-scale issues, spark new ideas, and foster innovation. Together, we aim to create a future society for our lives. There are 8 global themes featured in Theme Weeks, and the current week is to talk about necessities of life, food, clothing, and shelter. Today's program is an Agenda 2025 organized program, and the theme of the session is Promoting Ethical Living. And the central question will be, how can we develop ethical lifestyles that both tackle human consumption challenges and present new options to consumers? This program is also in streaming at the Virtual Expo. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite the moderator and his panelists of this session. Everyone, please come forward to the stage. それでは皆様大きな拍手をお迎えください。パネリスト、モデレーターの皆さんです。Welcome. Everyone, welcome. Here are today's speakers. I'd like to introduce first Ms. Sophia Mini, social entrepreneur, consultant, and advisor.
どうもこんばんは。Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really delighted to be with a panel that I've admired for a long time and to hopefully hear some really interesting questions from the audience here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Gordon Renouf, Good On You co-founder.
Konbanwa. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm looking forward to the session.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Arisa Kamada, Unisteps co-founder.
こんばんは、鎌田ありさです。よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。And here is Ms. Sally V. Fox, Versailles Limited Owner and Organic Cotton Breeder.
こんにちは。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Thank you. And as a moderator, here's Ms. Yoshiko Ikoma, fashion journalist, art producer, traditional craft brand producer, president of Art Dynamics Incorporated, chairman of Japan Ethical Initiative.
生駒よしこと申します。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。皆様お集まりいただきましてありがとうございます。セッション楽しみに参りました。よろしくお願いいたします。
We are pleased to welcome you here. Now, I would like to ask Ms. Ikoma, today's moderator, to lead the session.
ありがとうございました。それではここからセッションを始めさせていただきます。本日、ファシリテーターを務めさせていただきます生駒よしこと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。ちょっと私は最初に日本語でいろいろとお話をさせていただきますが、テーマがですね、エシカルリビングということで、今日は3つ目のセッションになります。で最初は本当フード、食べ物、衣食住のうちの食について深く話をされたと思うんですが、私たちは、衣、それから住ですね、ファッション、それから、住環境についていろいろお話をしていきたいと思います。大きなテーマとしましては2、30年後にですねを見据えまして、これからですよ、2050年ぐらいになるんでしょうか。 人間の暮らしに伴う課題をどういうふうに解決すればいいか、そして生活者にですね、消費者の方々に新たな選択肢を提供するにはどうすればいいか、そういうエシカルライフスタイルをですね、私たちがどのように拡大していけるか、私たちここに揃っているメンバーはですね、エシカルという課題に長く関わってきているメンバーです。で、実はこのテーマをいただいた時に、私は、すかさずこの4名の皆様に来ていただきたいと思いました。今エシカルサステナブルって時代のど真ん中に来ましたよね。かつてはかなり少数派だったと思います。ただ今もうこの話なしには地球の未来は考えられないようなテーマになりました。それがゆえにですね、マーケットが広がりました。ビジネスの目的の方、それからこれを手に入れることで社会的に成功するんじゃないか、いろんな思いでいろんな方が集まる業界になってしまったんです。悪いことじゃないです。すごく活況を呈しています。エネルギーも集まってきました。でもその中で私はここ30年ほどですね、ずっとこのテーマを追いかけてきて、この方はもう本当に魂のレベルからエシカルやサステナブルが必要だと純粋に思って本能的に取り組まれ、それをものすごく見事に事業化されている方々ということで、私にとっては伝説の4人の皆様をお招きしました。サリー・フォックスさんはオーガニックコットンのカリフォルニアで大地にですね根ざして取り組まれています。パイオニアです。もうちょっと伝説の方で、私実際にお目にかかって今日ワクワクしてるんですけれども、よろしくお願いします。あと鎌田有沙さんは、お若いんですけれども、今例えばグレタ・トゥンベリさんとかセバン鈴木さんって皆さん覚えてますよね。いつも少女が声を上げるんですね。で、鎌田さんも本当10代の少女、今も少女ですけど、ずっと声を上げて本当真摯に研究をして活動して自分で事業に取り組んでいらっしゃる。ゴードンさんはですね、私ファッションの人間ですので、ファッションの世界って皆さんエシカル分かってもどれがエシカルかどうか分からないという声も多い中で、ちゃんとですねトレーサビリティ、ブランドの情報を開示して、消費者に提供するという活動、私もこのアプリに出会って世界は変わると思いました。で、そしてサフィアさんはフェアトレードの、私にとっては女神様なんですけれども、本当に早い、もう一番早い段階で、フェアトレードに関わられて、今なおもう世界中の途上国中心に飛び回ってらして、おしゃれなフェアトレードをね世に定着されてきてます。そういう意味で今日これから皆さんご自分のお話をしていただくんですけれども、ちょっと最初に私のお話をさせてください。私はですね、ちょっとここに今出てますかしら、ここから少し私の自己紹介をしたいと思いますが、エシカル×クリエイティブというのが今の私の一つのテーマです。エシカルの領域に、文化的な要素ですとかデザイン的な要素をどんどん取り入れて、もっともっと皆さんに入りやすい入り口を作りたいなと思っているのが私の思いです。で、より豊かなエシカルライフを目指してということで、活動をしております。ちょっとこのプロフィール長いので皆さんもうお腹いっぱいになっちゃいますが、私もともとはファッション雑誌の編集者でした。ヴォーグ・エル・マリクレールという雑誌の編集をして、マリクレールでは編集長をしてましたが、実はプラダを着た悪魔のような生活も一時しておりまして、パリコレクション、ミラノコレクションずっと見てきたんです。ただ90年代半ばぐらいから気持ちが変わりました。温暖化を肌で感じたんですね。コレクション見に行ってる時に暑くてもう着れなくなっちゃったんです。で、こんなに温暖化が進んでるのに半年ごとにトレンドを押し出して大量にお洋服を作ってどうなるのかなと。で、私のファッションの観察のポイントが少し変わって、エシカルファッションこそが21世紀必要なのではないかと目覚めました。で、こちらはですね、マリクレールという雑誌を4年間編集長しましたが、ファッションの雑誌に社会的な課題を入れたいと思ったんですね。で、2005年には少子化の問題を取り扱いましたし、2007年環境問題も取り扱いました。で、その中でオーガニックコットン、それからフェアトレードに出会いまして、2008年には エシカルファッションが未来の扉を開くという特集を自分で考えました。ファッションとエシカルってちょっと距離があったんです、その当時はですね。でも絶対にこれはですね、未来にはファッションはエシカルサステナブルなしには進まないなと。でこちらちょっと鎌田有沙さんも出ていらっしゃるんですが、環境省、今小泉さん農水の大臣でお忙しいですが、環境省の大臣でいらした時に鎌田さんが声を上げて、とにかく日本のアパレルを変えましょうよと、世界の中で評判が悪いということでトレーサビリティを効かせようで、いろんな意味で透明性を高めましょうという提案をされるということで、私もご一緒して、環境省に行きまして、この時は小泉さん本当に活動、展開が早くですね、あっという間にアパレル産業の組織を作られて、今なお大きく前進しています。日本の産業変わってきました。で今の私の活動、ちょっと英語で書いてますのであれなんですけども、消費者庁でも活動してきました。消費者庁でエシカルファッション、エシカル消費を考える会議というのを2年間開催、2015年から17年ですねしまして、それが30人ぐらいの委員だったんですが、その委員がコアメンバーとなって日本エシカル推進協議会という、私が今会長を務めている会を作りました。エシカルの各ジャンルの専門家の集まりです。生物多様性からフェアトレードから人権、動物福祉、エシカル傘が大きいんですね。でその、会の協議会の今推進活動をしながら、私はもう一方の手でですね、文化をめでる活動もしています。日本の伝統文化をとにかく未来につなぎたい。で文化庁の文化審議会の委員もしておりまして、文化経済部会、文化と経済をつなぐような活動もしております。でファッション、アート、エシカル、ウェルビーイング、ジャパンクラフトと書かせていただきましたが、私の中では、これからエシカルを考えるときには心の問題、人間のですね、魂や心のレベルの問題に触れない限りシフトできないのではないかというふうに思って考えています。まだまだ勉強途中ですけれども、今日皆様のお話をたくさん聞いて、磨いていきたいと思ってます。で今お話ししましたジャパンエシカルイニシアティブ、日本エシカル推進協議会ではエシカル基準というものを作りました。エシカルって聞いてもよく意味がわからないっていう方も多いんですね。ですので我々は、専門家集団ですので2年間50回の会議をして、50セッションをして8項目にわたる基準を作りました。でそれがこの解説書ですね。このエシカルバイブルという本も出しました。もうここからは皆さんたくさんご存知のことだと思いますが、まず8項目の1つ目は環境を守るね、当然のことですが、あと人権を守るということ。で3つ目は消費者を守りましょうということ。で4つ目がですね、動物ウェルフェアです。アニマルウェルフェアですから、動物の健康や福祉も配慮しましょう。そして5つ目はですね、情報開示です。これはゴードンさんのお話にもつながるんですけど、とにかくものづくりの情報、産業の情報を開示しましょう。そして、地域の文化をリスペクトしましょう。これ私すごく関わっているんですけど、日本ですと全国に地場産業、伝統工芸残ってます。そういった産業本当に零細で潰れそうになっている最後の一人っていう職人さんがどれだけ多いことか、そういったところにもやはり目を向けてサポートしていきたいと。あと、これはですね、ガバナンス、自らの企業のや事業のガバナンスもしっかり考えてください。そして最後にはステークホルダーやサプライヤーの方々とダイアログ、セッションする、必ず会話しましょう。この8つの項目ですね、自己診断の仕組みです。ですので皆さんご自分たちの立ち位置を知っていただく。優劣を競うものではないんです。自分たちがどこの位置にいるかが分かっていただけたら、少しずつ上を目指しましょうという、そういう基準になっておりますので、ご興味ある方はぜひ一度覗いてみてください。でこれは私の個人的な活動になりますが、ヒルメという伝統工芸とファッション、アートをつなぐ活動をしております。実は2010年に伝統工芸に出会ったんですけど、職人さんが全員未来ないっておっしゃったんですね。で本当に自分の足元にある 宝を私は今まで気づかなかったなと。パリ、ミラノ、ニューヨーク、ロンドン行ってたんですけど、もう日本の中にもうすごい資源があるなということに気づきまして、今私がつけてるブレスレットは会津塗りの漆なんですけども、こういう形で普段から使えるもの、特別なものではなくて普段、これもちょっと浮世絵のスカーフなんですけど、普段から使えるものを作りたいなということで、手刺繍のスカジャンとか江戸小紋のスカーフとかを作っております。で、草木染めですね。これボタニカルダイイングなんですね、一番左側のは。あと、リンパの柿つばたをシャツにしたものですとか、古典的な麻の葉柄を、配したスカジャンですとか、こういう形で、私ファッションから来ているので、ファッションを入り口にして皆さんが楽しんでいただくことでマーケットが広がるといいかなというふうに考えています。でこちらの左側のは丹後ちりめんという着物の反物で作ったドレスです。でこれをですね染めていただいて、ロングドレスにするというふうな試みもしております。着物地は37センチ幅なんですね。なので洋服を作るのにはあまり向いていないんですけれども、それをあえて美しいドレスのために使ってみました。あと右側はアーティストの森真理子さんという方と組んで、水晶の職人とお仕事をしまして、アート作品として100個限定で作ってるんですね。なので私は掛け算がすごく重要だと思ってまして、化学変化を起こすことによってやはり進化していけるんですね、人間は。ですので伝統工芸かけるファッションとかアートとかという形でいろいろな実験を繰り返していきたい。昼目アートラボラトリーというものを東京の表参道に作ってますので、もしご興味ある方はぜひ見に来ていただきたいですが、最後にちょっと私の活動をいくつかご紹介しますと、こちらは日本の和文化伝統文化を紹介するアワードでですね、作家さんの作品を選定してご紹介するというプログラムです。こちらも本当に今少し日本の中で伝統文化注目を集め始めているんですけれども、やっとという感じですが、いろいろなジャンルの審査員の方々の目を経て新しい才能が飛び出すプラットフォームになってます。あとこちらは東京都で、東京って実は伝統産業の宝庫なんですね。みんな京都だと京都金沢で終わるんですけど、東京は実はもう日本で2番目に伝統工芸が多い場所なんです。でそれを小池都知事の声掛けもあって、事業者を育てる支援するプログラムにも参加しています。あとこちらはオンビートというアート雑誌なんですけど、その中で私がこの大盤ジャンルに活動している活動内容をいろいろとご紹介しております。私はですね今日のご登壇いただいた方々はそれぞれの専門ジャンルでものすごいアクティブな活動をされている方々です。私はどちらかというとそのメディアから来ている人間ですので、そういった方々とつながって大きなやっぱりウェーブを作りたいなと思って活動してますので、今日は私自身が本当に楽しみに参りましたので、皆さんもきっとワクワクいろんな活動ですとかビジュアルですとかお話が聞けると思いますので楽しみにしていてください。はい、ということで私のお話はこちらで終わらせていただきます。ありがとうございました。それでは、まずサフィアさんお話しいただけますか。サフィアさん、はい、お願いします。
はい、ありがとうございました。で、すいません。英語でいいですよね。Yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much, Yoshiko-san, and it's really exciting to hear your journey. I'm going to be talking today about crafting the future of fashion. I've spent the last 3-4 years reading about something called degrowth, post-growth, and thinking about how we redesign the fashion model to fit in a new economy. So some of you may know my work. I founded People Tree, a company in Japan and also Europe, about 33 years ago. So what you can see on the screen now is how the Earth has warmed up over the last 200 years. We know that we are in a polycrisis, that we are experiencing global heating, extreme biodiversity loss, and social unrest, that we are currently heading for 2.8 degrees by 2100. And I'm afraid to say that some countries in the global south are predicted to rise to more than 5 degrees above pre-industrialized levels by 2100. So we're in a really very serious situation. And I wanted to draw your attention to the unfairness, actually, of the climate breakdown, of the crisis that we're facing. So if we look at historic greenhouse gas emissions, the global south countries, as they are called, are only responsible for 8% of total greenhouse gas emissions. The rest is from us, people whose lives are in the global north. And so it can be argued that the global south, people in the global south, are facing the brunt of a problem that actually they have not contributed to. And as you know, the fashion industry relies very strongly on the global south. These mostly are the places where garment production is taking place, also where fibers are being drawn. So we have a huge issue, a huge global issue. So I started my journey about 30 years ago. I was visiting Bangladesh, India, Nepal, some countries also in Africa, in Kenya, Zimbabwe, in the early days. And from those times, I started to see this link between trade, our neoliberalist system, and the environment, and also a link between trade and human rights. I spent about 20 years going in and out of garment factories, meeting workers, also going to their homes to see how they lived, often sometimes 3 adults in a room, queuing to share maybe 2 gas rings to make their supper behind maybe 20 other families. So it was a very, very extreme situation of exploitation, and sadly today that situation has not improved. So if we look at the fashion industry, and today we're here to learn about the fashion industry, last year it was $1.7 trillion US dollars, accounting for 1.6% of global GDP. We know that the fashion industry is responsible for between 4 to 10% of total greenhouse gas emissions, and that is likely to rise to about a quarter of the total greenhouse gas emissions by just 2050. And it could be more than 1/4 of total greenhouse gas emissions if we don't move away from polyester very quickly and also transition to renewable energy. And then the third point I wanted to make is that it's just $1 trillion that we need to spend by 2050 in order to transition the industry to greener practices and to meet climate goals. So if you look at the first figure and the third figure, you can see that if we just spent 7 months of the global fashion industry, of their wealth, of the wealth of the industry, we would actually have a solution. That is how much it would cost for us to transition the fashion industry globally. So my role has been very much to think, how can we regenerate fashion systems? How can we become socially impactful? How can we regenerate soils, ecosystems, biodiversity, and communities? And that path started with People Tree, designing products using we developed the first organic cotton supply chains and also used the organic cotton supply chains where we met the farmers directly, worked directly with the farmers, where we were able to reduce water consumption by more than 60% and pay the organic cotton farmers a fair price, also an organic premium, which helped many of those farmers escape from the poverty trap, but also they invested in their communities. And we use craft skills, and I think craft skills like hand weaving, hand embroidery, and creating livelihoods in rural areas are absolutely the key to unlocking the just transition. So we're told by scientists that we need to cut fashion production and the production of most sectors by between 75 and 95%. We need to cut it by 75%. So that's a huge, huge transition. And I cover those issues in my book, Regenerative Fashion. I look at low-impact materials like organic cotton. I also look at paying living wages, which would have a natural impact to slowing down the production and paying people, obviously, decent wages. And I also look at craft. And from that, we launched something called Fashion Declares, which is a worldwide movement of the fashion industry, large companies and small, that want to push for more radical climate action. So craft, which is the theme of my talk today, as many of you know, craft is still very extensive in many parts of the world. As Ikoma-san said, also we have craft producers in Japan. In India, for example, hand weaving is the second largest employer after agriculture. And we know that with the global, with the Sustainable Development Goals, that actually production and consumption is one of the biggest issues. And craft is naturally very carbon low in its intensity. So what I'm suggesting here is that craft is an integral part of creating the post-growth economy, because craft reorganizes production and consumption. It challenges the profit maximization at the cost of human rights and at the cost of nature. And in this way, we can transition and we can look at methods to mitigate climate change whilst providing decent work for people in the global south in rural areas. And the beauty of this is that a hand loom costs maybe 2万円. So it is very affordable. People can buy the tools for production and they can hand weave. What we need to do is we need to encourage fashion companies and retail businesses to put more buying budget into buying hand-woven fabrics. So we know we can also automate craft processes. We can bring in renewable energy. We can bring in efficiency so as to improve artisans' incomes. And we can also reduce, for example, the water use. So many of you will have seen this. This is the planetary boundaries. You can also see that we've overshot planetary boundaries with climate, biodiversity, and I know Sally's going to talk a bit about nitrogen and phosphate loading, and then you can see the green section in the middle, which is how we create a just and a safe space where humanity can live. And this can only be created by redistributing wealth. And this is where craft becomes super important in redistributing wealth. So we're looking for a new paradigm, a shift away from growth. We know that luxury sales are down. There's an opportunity there for craft. And we also know that crafts were used even with IKEA bed sheets in the 1990s, when hundreds of thousands of hand weavers were working very, very recently, actually, in India. And I think as part of our redesign of the economic system of fashion, we also have to think about governance. We also have to think about female leadership, because we know that fashion supply chains are mostly run by men. Fashion companies are mostly run by men, whilst women do the work. We know that there is sexual abuse and harassment of women in supply chains and in companies, and actually the feminization of labor by male elites is often a reason and an opportunity for them to exploit women more and to pay lower wages. So we've spent a bit of time at Fashion Declares writing a white paper, which we researched with the help of the fashion industry in the UK to make recommendations to the government on how to create a circular and a regenerative economy, one that would also support craft and SMEs, small micro-enterprises. And a small project that I've recently started is using organic cotton, hand weaving that organic cotton to produce a brand called Indolisi, which is available at the moment in the UK. So I'd just like to leave it there, and thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to present. Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございました。今サフィアさんがお召しになっているのがその最後に話されたインディリシですよね。はい、素敵な刺繍が施されています。はい、それでは次にゴノさんお願いいたします。
Good evening, konbanwa. As you know, my name is Gordon. I'm really honoured to be invited to speak to you today. I'd like to thank the organisers of the session and Ikoma-san for inviting me. I'm going to talk about the important role that consumers have as part of the solution as a way to promote sustainable consumption in fashion. And I think the key question to answer is, what do we need to do to empower consumers to make more ethical and sustainable choices? And as we'll see at the end, this is what I believe will drive change. So I'm going to cover 4 topics. First, I'll touch very briefly on unsustainable consumption and production, although I'll skip some because Safia has covered a lot of it already. I'll talk about how consumers can create change through their choices. And then I'll discuss the help that consumers need to actually act on their values when they want change. And finally, I'll talk a little bit about an organisation that I'm one of the founders of called Good On You, which was set up to help consumers, and also Shiftosi, which is a Japanese partner that we're working with in Japan. So I'm going to skip through these 3 slides really quickly because a lot of it's been covered by Safia. So just looking at the labour impacts of fashion, we can see that nearly 80 million people work in the fashion industry worldwide. That's probably a slightly out-of-date number. But most of those workers live in countries with very poor labour laws. They often work in dangerous conditions or in very low wages, as Safia has said, and there are other problems like forced labour and the violence against women that Safia mentioned. There's a list of some of the environmental harms types on the slide there. That certainly it's a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. It harms nature through land clearing, through chemical runoff, through microplastic pollution, and through other problems. Fashion can also damage water sources, can damage soil and forests, amongst other things. And then there's the impact on animals, which has been mentioned already today. So let's focus on consumers. What power do consumers have? What can one individual do? So let's start that, first of all, let's understand that it's consumer choices that ultimately drive what is produced. If people stop buying something, companies will stop making it because they won't be able to sell it. But this is not about blaming consumers. Instead, we should recognise that consumers have the power to create change through their choices. And this power is widely recognised. Organisations as different as the OECD, which is a multi-government organisation focused on business, and Consumers International, which is the main global group for national consumer organisations, both agree that consumer action is essential for change. Consumers have the power to push companies towards sustainability and ethical practices, but only when they have the right information and the right support. And we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about the history of consumer action. So the idea of ethical consumption or sustainable consumption is not new. And this is by no means comprehensive, but just picking out a few actions in the Western past. More than 230 years ago, 230 years ago, many English consumers stopped buying sugar because it was sourced from countries in the Caribbean, the West Indies, where the sugar was made by slaves transported from Africa. And this was not the only part, but an important part of the movement to ban the cross-Atlantic slave trade. In 1911, a clothing factory burnt down in New York and killed more than 100 workers were killed in that factory fire. They were trapped inside. And this led many people to demand better conditions. And in particular, they demanded that factories worked with unionised labour, and consumers were empowered to choose to buy only from factories and brands that used union labour as long ago as before the First World War. Skipping ahead to today, ethical spending is growing fast. The best data comes from the United Kingdom, from England. UK consumers spent 140 billion on ethical products and services in 2022, and the goods and services part of that is about 4% of total final demand for consumer goods. So that's not enough to drive the change we need at the moment, but it's a very good start. I mean, if 10 or 20% of consumption was ethical, that would have a significant impact on business bottom lines. So why isn't ethical consumption more common? We need to understand what consumers say they want and what they actually do. So many studies show that consumers will say that they're willing to pay more for sustainable goods. 70 or 80% is typical in those studies. This one's from 2024 and studied 31 different countries. But most consumers don't actually make more sustainable choices most of the time. So they say they want to, but they're not doing it. There's a gap between what they say they'll do and what they actually do. And so rather than relying on that opinion kind of research, I prefer to look at less common research, which really looks at consumers' underlying values and attitudes. And that kind of research tends to show that it's more like 50% of consumers who feel bad, who are conflicted when they're not able to make more sustainable choices in their purchasing. Sure, that's less than the 80% of people who will say they should do it, but it's still hundreds of millions of people around the world, people who are prepared to act only if it's very easy to do so. So what tools do these consumers need to more frequently make more sustainable choices? So to answer that question, we need to know what are the specific barriers that people are facing when they're not making these more sustainable consumption decisions. And so we can see on the slide some of the examples. Lack of trustworthy information about which products and brands are better is a key problem. Of course, sometimes we need to trade off our sustainability desires against the features of the product that we might want. So the product with the better features may be not the most sustainable, and that's a problem. Sometimes, quite often, there's a higher price involved. And of course, sometimes it's just down to convenience. I can't get what I need at my local supermarket, so I don't look further. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the solutions, particularly to the information question, for the rest of the talk. But before we do, I just want to emphasise that being an ethical consumer is not a nice to have, it's a right. We all have this right. As consumers, we have the right to know how products are being made, and this is key. And what that means is that companies have an obligation to be more transparent about how they make their products. And we've seen the Fashion Revolution movement, of whom Arisa is a representative in Japan, has been campaigning for this kind of transparency for 12 years now. And governments should support this with minimum transparency requirements, not just about climate change, which is actually happening in quite a few countries, but about all ethical and sustainability issues. There's some European legislation which does move in that direction. So for the last part of my presentation, I just want to talk a little bit about how Good On You and Shifto in Japan work to help consumers, particularly with access to that trusted information about which brands are doing better. So Good On You was created to make it easier for consumers to shop ethically and sustainably by giving them that trustworthy information that they often lack. And our vision is a world, can you imagine this, a world where it's as easy to know exactly how a product was produced, everything about it, where it was made, what materials, where it went through the supply chain, how it impacted on people, how it impacted on nature, how it impacted on animals. It's easy to know all that stuff as it is to know the price of the product. In other words, we want consumers to know the true cost of the products that they're buying so they can factor it into their decision. So Good On You's solution is to create what is probably the world's largest rating system for consumer brands. So we rate brands on their sustainability impact. We look at hundreds of data points about each brand over about 50 key sustainability questions, and we then make that really simple for consumers. We turn it into a 5-point overall score. You can see this brand has a score of 4, that sort of half smiling face. If they had a 5, they'd be 1 to the left. I'm pleased to say that Indolisi, who is is a brand that's rated 5 out of 5 on Good On You just recently. And then 5 is great, and 1 is called We Avoid, the brands that you should not shop with if you can possibly avoid it. So consumers can access these ratings through our website, through our Good On You mobile phone app, but also in Japanese on the Shift2See website, which I strongly recommend to all the Japanese people here. We also work with some major retailers who use Good On You data to identify for their customers which products come from high-rated brands. We've rated more than 6,500 fashion and beauty brands, and as many as 1 million consumers are using Good On You each month to get information. As I said before, Good On You is available only in English, but this is the Shift2See site where the information can be accessed in Japanese, and there's some additional advice and articles for Japanese consumers. So how does this support change? What's our theory of change, if you want a technical term? What we believe is that as more and more consumers use information from sources like Good On You to choose better brands, those brands will become more successful. They'll grow. They'll be able to bring their costs down because of economies of scale. A greater range of ethical products will be produced, which will help with that barrier in terms of trade-offs between sustainability and the kinds of products that you want to buy. On the other hand, brands that are less sustainable will lose customers, and they will be forced to change or go out of business and lose market share to the more ethical brands. So just to wrap up, when influential voices like Emma Watson say Good On You is their benchmark for sustainable fashion, it shows we're helping to drive change in the industry, even if we're not doing it as fast as we would like. Finally, Good On You only rates fashion brands. I've missed something, sorry. Good On You only rates fashion brands at the moment and beauty brands as well, but we have a vision to move into all sectors and make it easy for consumers in all their purchasing decisions. And I'm going in the wrong direction because that's the end. Thank you very much. よろしくお願いします。
ゴードンありがとうございました。先ほどのサフィアさんがプラネタリーバウンダリー我々超えちゃってるんですよっていうことでいろいろな工夫をしていかなくてはいけない。その時に今ゴードンが消費者が力を合わせれば企業の行動も変えられるといういろんなキーワードが出てきました。もうたくさん頭の中でつながる話ですが、次じゃあアリサさんお願いできますか。
ありがとうございます。改めまして鎌田ありさです。一般社団法人ユニステップスという団体でファッション産業のサステナビリティ推進に関する取り組みを行っています。ファッションというとよく自分はあんまり関心がないなというリアクションをいただくこともあるんですが、ただ衣服は私も今着てますし皆さんも着ている。衣食住という言葉もありますけど、人間の生活にとって切り離せない、ある種の必需品であり、この衣服とどう関わることができるのかということをいろいろなセクターの方と考えるということを仕事にしています。でユニステップスは3つの軸で活動しておりまして、1つが企業行政との取り組み、そして、クリエイターデザイナーとの取り組みで、3つ目が、消費者生活者との取り組みと。後ほどこの一つ一つどんなことをしているか自己紹介をさせていただこうと思うんですが、まず前提の課題のところ、すでにサフィアさんとゴードンさんが 気候変動への影響や、働く人の、環境について、それから、動物福祉についても少し触れてくださいました。で、こういったことすべてに関わることだと思うんですが、前提として今衣服の生産量が非常に増えているということがあります。サフィアさんのお話の中でも生産量を大幅に減らしていく必要があるというお話がありましたが、そもそもどのぐらい増えたのかというと、このグラフ、世界の人口の増加率と繊維生産量の増加率を重ねたものです。で、2000年あたりに縦に線が入っているんですが、ここにファストファッションの主流化とあります。ファッション産業のビジネスモデル、常に変化してきていますが、2000年前後にいわゆるファストファッションと呼ばれるビジネスモデルが世界で広がっていったんですが、そのあたりからこの繊維生産量がぐっと伸びているのが見ていただけるかなと思います。この衣服の需要を何と考えるかは難しいんですが、人口の増加率と比例していれば人が増えたから必要な量が増えたかなとも思うんですが、このグラフを見ると人口の増加率よりも早く生産量が増加しているということが分かります。これ日本だけ見ても1990年から2019年の間に衣類の供給量約2倍になったと言われています。日本は人口はあまり増えておりませんが、供給量は増えていると。で、もう一つ重要なのがこの同じ期間に、価格ですね、半分以下になったと言われています。1990年は1着およそ6800円ぐらいだったところから2019年は2700円ぐらいになったと言われていますが、皆さんももしかしたら日々の買い物の中でお洋服安くなったなと感じられることあるかもしれないんですが、実際に価格が非常に下がっている。で、もちろん企業努力もありますが、衣服というのは本当に人の手がかかる、一着一着人が縫っているので、先ほどサフィアさんのお話にもありましたが、労働者の方が置かれている環境が、リスクが高い可能性もありますし、それからたくさん作ることで1枚あたりの価格を落とすということもあるので、このオーバーコンサンプション、オーバープロダクションとも言われますが、大量生産や大量消費と環境への影響や、それから人権への影響、それから動物への影響も深く関連しているだろうと思います。で、私がファッション産業に関わり始めたのは15年ほど前。最初はアルバイトで高校生の頃にアパレルの販売員を始めたことがきっかけでした。で、その頃ですね、ちょうど日本でファストファッションが広がり始めたタイミングで、自分が売り場に立っている中でも、非常に洋服の買い方が変わっていくのを感じました。やはり値段が非常に重視される。そうすると自社の製品の作り方も変えなくてはいけないですし、そういったプレッシャーの中で、素材や作り方やいろいろなことが変わっていくということを実感していました。で、その後サステナビリティに関する発信を始めるわけですが、その中で多くの方から聞く声、例えば、消費者は、企業が、サステナブルなアイテムを売ってくれないと選べないじゃないか。で、一方で企業は消費者が求めてないから作れないじゃないか。そういった両すくみ状態みたいなものを非常に感じまして、その中で、企業、行政、それから消費者、そしてデザイナーもいろいろな立場の人が、お互いに一歩ずつ動かないとなかなか物事が変わっていかないというふうに感じまして、今この3つの領域で活動しています。1つ目がジャパンサステナブルファッションアライアンスという企業連携のプラットフォームがあるんですが、この立ち上げから関わらせていただいて今事務局を務めています。主にカーボンニュートラルとファッションロスゼロということを目標に置いて、企業間で議論を続けております。今メンバーが70社ほどいらっしゃいまして、繊維メーカーさん、商社さん、福祉財に関する会社さん、それからアパレルブランド、それからリサイクルやリユースに関わるいわゆる静脈企業といわれる皆様、この川上から川下までこれだけの企業の方が集まってサステナビリティについて議論をするという場がこれまでなかったため、この中で企業間で連携できることは行いますし、みんなにとっての共通課題は政策提言を行うなどして、行政に向けて提案をすると いうことでこのシステム全体への変化を促していくというプラットフォームになっています。で、毎月会議をしながら政策提言を行っていくというところですね。そして2点目のクリエイターデザイナーとの取り組み、これはファッションフロンティアプログラムというプログラムを運営しているんですが、デザイナーの方、素材を選びます。それからどのようなデザインにするのかを選びます。そして生産背景も選んでいきます。このデザイナーの意思決定というのが衣類の全体のインパクトに非常に大きく関わるので、デザイナーの方がどのような意識で服を生み出していくかということが非常に重要になってきます。で、ファッション産業、もちろんクリエイティビティというのが今まで非常に重視されてきています。で、それと同時に今後はソーシャルレスポンシビリティ、社会的責任もデザイナーが意識していく必要があるだろうと。で、それに向けて、クリエイティビティとソーシャルレスポンシビリティどちらも高いレベルで実現していこうとするデザイナーが評価される場が必要であろうということで、アワードとエデュケーションのプログラムを兼ね備えたプログラムとして2021年に始まりました。世界中から応募者の方が集まるんですが、その中から選ばれたファイナリスト、いろいろなレクチャーを受けていただくことができます。去年もサフィアさんにも講師として来ていただきましたが、その中でどのように服を作ることが責任あるものづくりにつながるのかということを改めて学んでいただきながら実際に服を作っていただく。で、その中で3名の受賞者が選ばれていくというプログラムになっています。で、特徴的なのは審査員がですね、ファッション産業からだけではなく、例えば国立環境研究所の生物多様性の責任者である五箇先生であったり、今回万博でシグネチャーパビリオンのプロデューサーを務めている宮田さんであったり、さまざまな領域から衣服の未来を考えるということを通して、人の生活がどうあったらいいのかということも含めて考えていくような場作りになっています。で、ちょっと一人ずつ本当は作品もご紹介したいんですが、今日は時間がないのでスキップしますが、リサイクルマテリアルやバクテリアによる染色や、それから伝統工芸の活用など幅広い視点でものづくりを行うクリエイターが評価されています。そして3点目、生活者。やはり先ほどゴードンさんのお話にもあったように、生活者がどのような意識を持つかということが非常に重要になります。で、一つファッションレボリューションというグローバルキャンペーンがあるんですが、これは2013年にバングラディッシュでラナプラザという縫製工場が入ったビルが崩落してたくさんの方が亡くなるという事故があって、その後に世界中で広がっていったキャンペーンなんですが、この日本の事務局を務めています。で、ファッションレボリューションでは Who made my clothes? 私の服は誰が作ったのということを消費者一人一人が考えていくことが産業全体を変えていくことにつながるだろうということで、毎年世界中でイベントが行われています。また重要なレポートもたくさん発行されているんですが、こうしたレポート基本的に英語で出ますので、なかなか日本の話者の方がアクセスすることができないということで、日本語に翻訳をして日本でシェアをしていくという取り組みも行っています。で、一つ象徴的な、エキシビションを2年前に行いました。この T シャツ、長いタグがついているんですが、これは何かというと、このシンプルな T シャツを作るのに実際にどれだけの工程があるのかということを、できるだけ実名で働いている方のお名前も載せて展示をしたものになります。普段お洋服の選択表示、この左下、服の裏の左下に皆さんも今見つけられるかなと思うんですが、メイドインどこどこどこどこ製という表記と、それから素材についての表記があると思うんですが、これは衣服の最終の生産地、それからその服にどのような素材が使われているかという情報のみが記載されているんですが、本当は例えばコットンがアメリカで取れて、そしてそれが中国に運ばれて、そこで紡績されて、そして生地になって、それが日本に運ばれて縫製されるというように、いくつかの国をまたいで生産されることがほとんどなのですが、 なかなかそういった情報は見えてこない。でその背景にさまざまな環境への影響や、労働関係のリスクがあるんですが、そこが見えないということで、そういったことを可視化するインスタレーションとして展示を行いました。そして、ちょっと時間が足りないので最後に一つだけこのプロジェクトを紹介したいと思うんですが、これは個人で服の種という企画を続けています。これは申し込んでくださった参加者の方にコットンの種をお送りする。そして自宅のベランダやお庭で育ててもらうんですね。8年間続けていて、私も毎年自宅のお庭でコットンを育てているんですが、ちょうど5月が種まき、そして夏に花が咲いて、秋から冬になると収穫ができるんですが、参加者の皆さんが育てた綿を集めて、で実際に紡績工場に行って糸を作ってもらう、そして生地を織る、そして最後デザインまで参加者の皆さんと一緒に行ってお洋服を作るという参加型のプロジェクトです。こうしたことを通して何をしたいかというと、やはりこのファッションとサステナビリティについての議論というのはどうしても概念的になりがちで、こうすべきだとか、ああしなくてはならないとか、これが問題だとかいろいろ指摘をするだけでは、その話を聞いた人がなかなか自分ごとにならないということで、実際に服を作るプロセスを体感する機会を作ることで、服ができるのはこんなに時間がかかるんだということを感じてもらうところから、ではこんな速いスピードで消費をしていいのか、それからこの値段で大丈夫なのか、いろんなことを考えてもらうきっかけを作っているプロジェクトになります。ひとまず私からは以上になります。ありがとうございます。
はい、ありがとうございます。もう溢れるようなお話が今聞けて、ちょっともう全部今またね繰り返すことはできないんですけれども、すごく分かりやすく、しかもアリサさんの具体的な活動行動がですね、もう本当に興味深いと思いますし、最後のお話がなんとサリーさんにつながっていく素敵なエンディングでした。ではサリーさんお願いいたします。
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored that you invited me, and I will do my best to share what I hope is interesting. It's very personal, my presentation. It's not full of graphics or anything else but my story, and I hope that you enjoy it. I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area, what is now Silicon Valley, in the mid 20th century. And the people who formed the community of my life were from all around the world because of Stanford University and the major research institutes that were around. And so the culture was rich for innovation and studying science and all those things, and I benefited greatly. As an 11-year-old, during the Summer of Love in San Francisco, I fell in love with hand spinning and organic gardening. And these are the loves that have filled my life. Textiles have remained my passion. And in 1970, in my high school, 4 of us started an organic gardening club, one of the first organic gardening clubs in the whole United States. And I'll tell you, the people who formed it were Carol Sukurai, Naomi Rosen, Janet Kronbach, and me. So we started this club. And this high school was sort of famous because we had the Fleetwood Mac. The people in Fleetwood Mac went to this high school, and other, like the Grateful Dead people went to this high school. It was like a very fun school. Yes. So anyway, a doctoral student from Kenya who taught biology at my high school inspired a few of us to go on to study the sciences in the hopes of reducing pesticide misuse and overuse. Dr. Elizabeth Wangari gave to me this profound gift of direction in my early life. I devoted myself to learning enough to join the team of professionals working to eliminate toxic pesticide dependence. I studied pests and diseases of crops in college and graduate school. One way that I earned money for my education was teaching hand spinning. An older woman that I was teaching had a daughter who had been an art teacher in San Francisco, who was teaching all the kids how to do tie-dyeing, but she didn't wear gloves. And the dyes, the heavy metals in the dyes, migrated to her brain, and her daughter died. Yes. And I was a student studying how to get rid of pesticide misuse. And I went to the library. Back then, we had no Google, right? You went to a library, opening books, looking who made dyes. And guess what? All the chemical companies that were making pesticides all started out as dye companies. So I made it my mission to never use any chemical dyes in my spinning or my knitting or my weaving. So that was the important change. And I went around looking for natural colors of natural fibers. And this is a sweater that I knit with black wool, and the San Francisco Zoo let me collect the camel hair, and that's the camels in the sweater. So this was just my whole thing. So after graduate school, I worked for a cotton breeder, and I was breeding insect and disease resistance, evaluating insect and disease resistance. And here's a picture of where cotton was domesticated. It's been domesticated all over the world, but the species I work with to this day were domesticated in the Americas, both north and south. The breeder I worked for I found a bag of brown cotton seeds in the, this is also a picture of Dr. Kondo-san, who we know and love, with white cotton. And that's what the breeder was working on, white cotton, which is what most cotton is. But in the greenhouse was a bag of brown cotton that I found. And I, of course, was very excited because it was a beautiful color, the color of the camel, that the zoo wasn't letting me get anymore. So I had this new chance to have a new color. And the problem was the fiber was too short, in my opinion, to spin, and it felt rough. So I asked my boss, could we improve this fiber? And he said, no, there's no market for colored cotton. And the reason he had these cottons was they were the source of insect and disease resistance that the USDA was giving to all the breeders in the hopes of getting more insect and disease resistant cottons. So I asked him, why don't we make a market for naturally colored cotton? And he was in his 70s and I was in my 20s. And he said, why don't you make a market for naturally colored cotton? And that's it. But it was only a summer job. And I began with growing the plants in pots. And then it was just a summer job. I went back to all these other jobs in agriculture and science. And I continued working on breeding these cottons and developing a lot through classical plant breeding. And here are some pictures of the colors that I was able to develop with classical plant breeding. Using cross-pollination. In this picture, there's the mother is the first number and the father is the second. Growing up plots, I had to rent land. It was way more than I could use. So suddenly I became not just an organic gardener, but an organic farmer in a sense, and I continued developing colors. 40 years ago, I started a little mail order business called Versis Limited. It's still my main business. And I sold these cottons to hand spinners and hand weavers. Sorry. One of the discoveries of the hand spinners that I sold to was that when you spun the cotton and used boiling to set the twist, some of the colors got darker and some of the colors washed out. And this turned out to be the most critical discovery. From that point on, I continued spinning. Of every plant I selected, I would spin and boil a piece of it and evaluate it and make sure it got darker because we don't want the color washing away. a friend of mine from graduate school gave me a gift, which was a traditional Japanese family tradition of giving a gift upon a death in the family. And she gave me $1,000. And with that money, I paid for the first fiber testing at a lab, because before this, it was only hand spinners. When the lab heard about the cotton, when they tested it, they said, they'd never had colored cotton or seen colored cotton this long, even though this is not very long by cotton standards. It's way longer than what had been available. And the word got out into the textile world, and a mill in Japan found me named Yamatobo. And they had a special garment that was that they wanted to make for the coronation of Emperor Akihito in 1989, and they gave me a contract to produce the cotton at scale for this project. And in addition, the beautiful designer Hiroko Koshino had the first product. This product was sold in 1989, and it's using organic cotton, but nobody knew it. Because just the color alone was interesting enough. So the cost of dyeing cotton back then was maybe $1 a pound, and then the cost of cleaning the dye waste up in the countries that had laws protecting waterways might have been $2 to $3 a pound. And this gave us a great opportunity. The mills that were paying to clean up the cotton waste, the dye waste, were interested in my cotton, and soon I grew to thousands of acres of production for 38 spinning mills with 40 farmers. And so we were producing vast amounts of cotton, and we were developing organic cotton standards, the farmers and I. And this was the basis of the entire industry. And here's some awards that I was given back in the day. But then it seemed that the whole world collapsed, because suddenly, within 1 year, the major brands switched to buying all their textiles from countries that dumped their dye waste in waterways without cleaning them up, which saved a lot of money, and they made the money. But all of my customers went out of business within a year. And it seemed like all was lost. I was still doing my work, but barely hanging on, until the miraculous and wonderful people came into my life. Kondo-san and Kazunori Sato-san from Itoshu Corporation. Sato-san from Itoshu knew and loved the cotton from way back in the 1980s, early 80s, and he was able to get the cotton that the spinning mill Yamatobo still had when they closed, and Taishobo Seki was able to begin starting to spin my cotton. So that was 30 years ago. So Taishobo Seki has, I don't know if you know in the rest of the world, they're considered the best spinning mill in the world. And all the breeders dream of their cotton going to them. And so I'm very proud to be a supplier. And here is a picture of Kondo-san, the late Kondo-san, and Dosi Alvarez, our farmer. And I'm wearing all clothes grown by Dosi Alvarez, and Kondo spun at Taishobo Seki and woven in Japan. So for decades, Kondo-san would bring his customers to visit the farms. And I had the joy of getting to know so many of these customers. And what I'm wearing, there's a photo here of the woman who designed this. She visited and then designed this. And here's Kondo-san visiting the fields. And I have been able to continue my work of breeding these colors, expanding the color range, improving the yield, improving the agronomic qualities, always maintaining the organic production. I'm sorry, I'm going over time. I want to say that these are the people, Team Taishoboseki and their customers. In this picture, we have the Silk family, Toban Textiles, beautiful people. That's the kaftan I'm wearing. So many wonderful people who support them, Taishoboseki, with buying my cotton, designing. Here's a picture of one of their customers who visited me back in 1999 and still using my cotton. And we have Wonder Looper here. We have so many Tenimuhu. We have, to you, thank you. Because of this ethical connection, I've been able to do my work. And I feel like my work has been important in the whole story. But I never could have continued it without this support. And so when I was asked about ethical, this is what comes to my mind, all of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
サリーさんありがとうございました。ちょっとこう胸に迫るお話でした。私たちにとってはオーガニックコットンの本当にこう神様のような方なんです。実はオーガニックコットンに触れている方皆さんサリー・フォックさんに会いたいと思っていらっしゃると思うので、私今日はハッピーなんですけども、今お話を4人のご登壇者の方のお話を聞きました。サリーさんのお話を聞いててちょっと思い浮かべたのが「沈黙の春」という本がですね、レイチェル・カーソンさん1962年出されました。いつもサイエンティストが警鐘を鳴らすんですね。やっぱり物事の真実を知っている方が危ないよ地球はこっちへ行ったらと、そういう警鐘を鳴らされる。私はサリーさんにも同じことを感じるんですけども、そこからサリーさんは本当に豊かな大きなエシカルな花を咲かされているなと。でそれがやっぱり豊かな未来につながることだなと思ってます。で今お話をお聞きしました。私も今もう胸がいっぱいになってるんですが、ちょっと思い浮かべますと1960年代にバックミンスター・フーラーという建築家の方が宇宙船地球号という考え方概念を皆さんに提示しました。今なお私たち胸にありますよね。でこんな地球じゃないですか。一つのファミリーで暮らして、そこでこれだけの異常気象が起こって自然を滅ぼしてですね、戦争もあります。資本主義も不安定になってきました。本当に不安に包まれるようなこの地球の状況、私たちなんとかですね、こちらの今の4人の方のお話を聞いてるとブレイクスルーできると今思ってるんですけども、ここからはフリーディスカッションでぜひですね、この先に私たちが築きたい世界についてどういうふうにすればたどり着けられるかというふうなことをこのセッションを通してお話をしていきたいと思います。エシカルというのはさっき私も心の問題って言ったんですけど、よく日本語に直すとどうなるのって言われた時は思いやりとか樽を知るとか利他の精神とか、そういうことをすごく考えるんですね。結構日本の中にはある精神であったりします。江戸時代などは本当にエコでエシカルな時代だったなと振り返ると思って、ヒントはたくさんあるんですけどなかなかそこにたどり着けないということで、ここからはちょっといくつか質問を皆さんにさせていただきたいと思います。まず一つ目の質問はですね、今の地球はエシカルな方向に動いていますか？ Would you say that the earth is going on an ethical direction today? さあゴードンさんどうでしょう？サフィア Go first.
No, I don't think so. I think we've come to the point where we are absolutely clear that we are facing climate breakdown, and therefore we are having to think very urgently whether we're citizens, whether we're business, whether we're policymakers or government or international institutions. We're having to think very, very seriously. Do we have a planet on which we can do business at all in in 50 years, in 100 years. So no, I don't think we're going in the ethical direction. I think we have come to a crisis point, and now we have no choice but to act.
なるほど。サリーさんいかがですか。あるいはアリサさん。サリーさんどう？
Okay. So I think that there are places where we look for inspiration for ethical way. And that's why I look to you, to Japan. I feel where I am, I look west. I hope that the relationship that has allowed me to keep doing my work, that more and more people will live this way, where they respect each other's businesses and help and commit and allow the mill buying the cotton from the farmer, knowing who they are, respecting what they need, the farmer caring about the mill customers caring about them, everyone being connected. I feel that is the vision that if the rest of the world followed it, the problem would be solved.
I think to add to your point, Sally, absolutely right. If with fair trade too, long relationships built on trust, good communication, mutual understanding and respect, that has to be the future of any form of trade, whether it's local or international trade. I agree.
なるほど。ゴードンいかがですか。アリサちゃん。
はい、いや本当にこの質問をいただいたときに動いていると言いたいけれども一方で本当に戦争の状況も深刻ですし気候変動対策から撤退する政府や企業も増えているのでイエスとは言いにくいけれどもこの問い自体をみんなで共有することは非常に重要だなと思いました。今自分たちが関わっているビジネスや生活がどこに向かうことにつながるのかっていうことを、今日聞いている皆さん含め一人一人が考えてこっちに進んでいって大丈夫なんだろうかという問いを、みんなで共有するということがスタートポイントになるのかなと。で先ほどサフィアさんおっしゃってましたけど、危機的な状況であるというのは私の感覚ですけれどもそれぞれがじゃあ自分はどう思うのかということを今日の場で共有できたらいいなと思っていました。
How is Gordon?
Thank you. Earlier today, Arista and I went to the Equilibrium of Life Pavilion in this expo. And the Japanese professor who put this pavilion together emphasized that the history of life has been about cooperation and about almost altruism. And that's an interesting perspective because often we think about the competition. The Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher, talked about the ruthlessness of nature. But actually the biology professor's point was that there is a lot of cooperation, a lot of, I can't remember the word, collaboration and cooperation and selflessness in nature, in how we get to. And so I think we can see both negative tendencies and positive tendencies all the time. And I think history tends to go a little bit in cycles. And right now, the last 2 or 3 years, there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of geopolitical disruption. There's a lot of economic problems. But if we go back even to the first year of the pandemic, there was a blossoming almost of interest in sustainability. And so it's not that long ago that things would have looked quite different. And so my very strong hope is that we will get back to this situation in the near future.
なるほど。協業利他というのはまさしくエシカルそのものだと私は思ってるんですけど、私自身は今もう本当にティッピングポイントというか、どの道を取るか、which way we should take という時に来てると思います。でそれを自覚するっていうこと、あとでも危機的状況に入ると人間って力を合わせません。なので今チャンスだと思ってるんですね。でこういう場でこういう話を聞かれたり私たちもしていることで、なんかこう 向かわねばならないという、次に行かなくちゃ、なんかエシカルな方向に行かなくちゃっていうふうに皆が心を合わせられることが、そういう機会が今回得られたかなと思って嬉しく思ってます。はい、では次に、エシカルにもしこの地球が進んでいる部分があるとしたら、それはどのようなパワーでしょう。 If it is going on an ethical direction, what kind of power is it moving with right now? どうですか、Gordon?
So just really quickly, I think to reiterate almost the same point, which is that we all as humans have an interest in life continuing. And so we're sort of balancing our long-term aspirations for life to continue and life to be good and life to get better with our short-term individual selfish needs to get food and shelter, but also to enhance our being and our status, if you like, in the world. And those two things are somewhat in conflict. And so that's the power that we have to enhance, which is the power of our desire to live and our desire for humanity to live in an ongoing way.
生き続けたいサステナビリティですね、まさしくね。これは本能であると。だから我々もう一回本能に帰らなきゃいけない、back to our roots ということですね、ある意味。はい。どうですか、この課題に対してアリサ、サリさん、何かあれば。
今のゴードンの話は、個人的な欲求と社会の中でのバランスという話だったと思うんですけど、私がよく例えば大きな会社で働いている方とお話しするときに感じるのは、例えば個人的には環境に負荷が少ないものを選びたいとか、もちろん、生産者の方にできるだけ利益を還元したい。ただこの今の資本主義のシステムの中で、会社として存続するには経済的な利益を出さなければいけない。そうすると自分が個人的に思うチョイスとこの経済性と一致するチョイスがフィットしないということに非常に葛藤を感じている方が多いと思います。で、この個人的な本当はこっちの方がいいよねと素朴に思うチョイスを、この経済活動の中で反映できるような経済システムになれば、非常に前向きに働いていくと思うんですけれども、その個人の素朴なこっちがいいという感覚が本当はパワーになるはずなんですけれども、なかなかそれを発揮しにくいというのが今の状況なのかなと思います。
なるほど。企業単位となると経済効率、おそらくエシカルな方向に向かえない一つの理由は、その経済効率最優先できた20世紀のやっぱり歴史があると思います。そういうシステムで動いてきてしまって、それを急に全部変えることってなかなか難しいです。生活の全部、社会の全部を変えなくちゃいけないっていうことがいきなりにはできないですけど、その分今有沙さんおっしゃったようなその小さな個人の意思だったりアクションが積み重なっていくことで、やがて大きなウェーブになるかなと私も思っているんですが、いかがですか。もうこの質問次に行きましょうか。どなたかいらっしゃりたい方が。大丈夫ですか。サフィア大丈夫。
はい。I think for the last 20, 25 years, we've been calling on the fashion industry to take voluntary action, and that clearly hasn't delivered living wages. We still have a fashion industry built on slavery, well, a trading system, a neoliberalist system that is built on slavery and exploitation of planetary resources. So I think it's regulation, and I think it's legislation, and we now see this beginning to come in different forms. The French, some of you might know, have banned advertising for ultra-fast fashion, and they have put a €5 charge immediately on ultra-fast fashion when it comes in, which will rise to, I think, €10 by 2030. So, I think globally we need to be choking off, stopping the terrible product built of fossil fuels, built on exploitation, and we also need to be finding incentives for best practice. And at the moment we don't have either of those systems, so we're floundering and kind of flip-flopping, trying to do things when the system actually is not creating an environment for the right things to flourish.
まあフランスはファッションの、一番の中心地なんですけど、このサステナビリティエシカルに関してはフランスものすごく大きく責任を感じていろいろな政策を取ってますよね。燃やすパッションをやっぱり焼却することに関して罰金化をするとか、そういうことでファッションの本拠地で大きな動きが取られている、そういうのは本当に一つのポジティブな方向に向かうパワーかなとも言えると思います。大丈夫ですか？そしたらもしエシカル、これまた同じ質問の繰り返しになるかもしれないんですけど、今経済の効率化っていいますか、何が我々がエシカルに向かうのにそれを阻止してしまうのか。If it is not going on an ethical direction, what factors are preventing it? っていうことなんですが、同じような質問ですが、サフィアさんどうですか
？I think we have a neoliberal system that is maximizing profit at the cost of human rights, at the cost of the planet, the cost of biodiversity, the cost of our future. And that neoliberalist system, the capitalist system that has become more and more embedded in the last 40 years, is also deeply misogynistic.
変わらない。
Misogynistic. It is male. It's patriarchal. It doesn't recognize ethics of care. We spoke about ethics. Care are some of the attributes that women do very, very well. Women as leaders score more highly than men on 14 out of 15 points, and yet female leadership is not supported by the current system. So at the moment, we don't have the opportunity, the barrier to really welcome this new paradigm, this new shift to a well-being economy, to a post-growth economy, to a well-being economy.
女性パワーの活用ですね。サリーさんどうでしょうか。
Okay, thanks. I wonder if there was a change that I observed in my life. And that was the expected profit margin of companies. So when I was younger and my cotton was being bought by all these mills around the world, the normal profit margins were between 10 and 20% in the fashion industry. They were what would we call more of a responsible margin. When these big brands switched to everything being made in places with the dyes being dumped in the waterways, all of a sudden their profit margins went into the 80% range. And remember this fast fashion that came in the year 2000, all these brands were buying all these products at those prices and marking them up and making these huge profits. They're still making the current is maybe 60% profit, not 20% like they used to. And so I think that capitalism is not necessarily the problem, it's the style of capitalism. And so I feel like because I lived during a time when capitalism had a different flavor, the businesses had responsibility. They were the people who ran the businesses lived with the people who worked there, and they cared. And so I feel like it is redeemable if we go back to something that worked for a long time. That's just my opinion.
なのでこの
アリサさん
資本主義の修正みたいなことが言われたりしますけど、先ほどサフィアさんからその規制や法整備の話もありましたけど、そうした仕組みに働きかけることで、例えば環境負荷が高いものの方が今は値段は安いわけですけれども、それが逆転するようなシステムを検討しているようなエリアもあるわけで、そういった修正の仕組みみたいなものがあれば、この今の阻害している要素、今我々が乗っかっているシステムというのを修正していける可能性は出てくるのかなと思いますね。
修正したいです私。それでゴードンさんなんかどうぞ。
I think just 2 points I want to make. First of all, on the question of regulation, and 2 sub-points on this question. So about regulation, firstly, often people think oh, we should expect companies or consumers to change how they do things and that will create a solution. And then people say, oh no, that's not working. And then they say, oh, we should have regulation. That will create the solution. But you need to be very careful about putting all your eggs in one basket, very careful about relying only on regulation because, you know, look at the laws that are being made around the world right now by legislators. They're not always positive. In fact, we've seen a lot of laws in some countries recently which are going in the wrong direction. And of course, people who have short-term monetary gains have a lot of influence over many of our parliaments. And so I think that's the first point about regulation is we have to look at both. We have to look at voluntary action and regulation together. We have to find ways in which they're mutually supportive. I think one of the benefits of promoting voluntary action by consumers is that when they vote, they will be thinking more about these issues because they think about it on a daily basis. Second point about regulation is it's important to think about what regulation is likely to work, what regulation might work or might not work, and what regulation probably won't. And so rather than saying, we can't regulate to say all companies have to make in a sustainable way because that just won't work. What we can do is to look at very specific things that will help. Firstly, we can require companies to be fully transparent in the way I said earlier today. Secondly, we can bring back in the costs that are avoided. And so we can say, if you are causing pollution, then you have to pay for it. And so that's what the point Sally made before, when fashion production offshored 30, 35 years ago, to get lower labour costs, but also to avoid regulation, that was a problem that we should address. So you have to be very specific about the regulation that you want. I think you have to be very clear about what you're asking for. And I've forgotten the other point, so I'll just pass on. Oh, no, I've actually remembered it. You asked the question, what is preventing us going forward? One of the things that prevents us going forward is trying to be perfect. Like, we don't know everything. We don't know what will work. And people who are trying to get better should be supported, even if they're not best. So that's the second point.
ベターを目指そうということですね。はい、じゃあサフィアさんどうぞ。
I think one of the things that's holding us back is naivety. I think we've forgotten that the fossil... Naivety, innocence.
Innocence.
Yeah, we pretend, the fossil fuel companies have been lobbying to create synthetics to put a different life cycle analysis data to pit it against organic cotton or cotton. The fossil fuel companies have been, oil washing that there is no climate crisis, and here we are 35 years later when we had Kyoto in 97, when we thought there was going to be action. When I had tiny children in Yokohama, 7%, 8%, 9% emissions reduction were promised by the US, by the EU, and by Japan. That was a momentous occasion. And then the fossil fuel interests came in. At the moment, in Europe, we have a problem with our election. We had Cambridge Analytica problem. We had then a different political party that came in. We have problems with TechBro, with data that is changing the politics of our voting systems in the US, I believe. So we must not be naive, right? It's politicians, brothers that own the factories. It's billionaires who often own the fashion businesses that insist that labour is not paid a fair wage or even a living wage or even a minimum wage. We have a racist system. And unless we wake up and we understand just how brainwashed actually we've become, it's not our fault. It's not our fault, not for a moment. But we have trusted big business, we have trusted politicians to do the right thing, but lobbying interests have always been there. Yeah, I've stood in embassies next to people. I've stood at the World Economic Forum 15 and 20 years ago. And I promise you, the conversations that are being had are not about supporting the normal person, of which I believe we all are, or the living world. They're about maximizing profit at whatever cost. And we must not be naive about that.
はい、サフィアさん、知ることは重要ですね。情報があふれている今ですけれども、その情報の真偽を確かめることもすごく簡単ではない時代ですけれども、やはり私たちにはその先ほど権利があると、責任もあると思いますね。消費者として生活者として正しい情報、やっぱ自分にとって正しいと思える情報をえり分けて自分たちが前に進んでいかなきゃいけないなと今サフィアさんの話を聞いても思いました。ちょっと次の質問に行かせていただいていいでしょうか。エシカルの話で先ほどゴードンさんが 80% の方は興味があるけれども実際に買う人行動を起こす人が少ないという話でしたけれども、エシカルって例えば良心に訴えるとか道徳とか倫理とか日本語ではねちょっと硬いイメージがあるんですね。いい性善説じゃないですけどいいことしましょうみたいなことってなかなか逆に言うと広まりにくいところも感じているんですが、いかがですかこの質問は。エシカル has a little too formal image ということで How do you think we should communicate to people that ethical thinking is important? どのようにして伝えていけばいいか、はい、どうでしょう。もうでも皆さん行動で起こされているので質問に対する答えは先ほど全部おっしゃってくださったかもと。
そうですね。さっきのトークの中でも最後に
全部
少しお
入ってますね
話ししたんですけど、やっぱりその考え方を共有するって結構難しいと思うんですよね。今日もここでお話をして話を聞いて何かの入り口にはなるかもしれないけれども、実際になんか自分事としてじゃあ買うものを変えるとか物の作り方を変えると思うとやっぱり自分で腹落ちした何かが必要になると思うので、やはり体感する機会、先ほど服の種のお話をしましたが、我々他にもスタディツアーという形で実際に物を作ってる現場にいろんな方をお連れするという企画もやっています。実際に工場さんに行くとこうやって糸をよるんだとか、こうやって生地を織ってで染めるのにはこれだけ水が必要で実際にそこが熱が必要で、いろんなことを体感すると自分事として頭に入ってくるというか体に入ってくる、そうするといろいろなレポートであったり、例えば科学者の人が警鐘を鳴らしているのを見た時にその自分の体感と科学的な情報がつながる。でそれによってやっぱり腹落ちしてじゃあ自分の行動はどうしようかというふうになっていくと思うので、何か体感するチャンスを得ていくということが大事なのかなと思います。
そうですね。よくマーケットの中で言われる物を売るにはどうすればいいか、買ったらお得感があるとか楽しいとかっていう言葉がよく出てくるんですね。その入り口って私は結構大切だなと思っていて、体験することで自分にものすごいエネルギーもらえるじゃないですか。だからそういうやっぱり体験型であったり物語を伝えることであったり、そういう方法は私たちこれからじっくり取り組んでいきたいかなと思うんですけど、ゴードンさん何かおっしゃりたいことがありますね。
I think the first thing we have to think about is that when consumers are going about their daily life, they're not shopping for ethical things, they're not shopping for sustainable things, they're making their consumer decisions to buy something or rent something or not because they feel they need it or they feel they want it. And we also know, so promoting something primarily because it's ethical is not going to appeal to more than a small percentage of consumers. What we also know, though, is that 80% of consumers say that they want to buy more sustainable stuff, and 50% of consumers feel bad when they're not doing it. And so it's more like the consumers have an expectation that this will be delivered. And so finding a way to communicate to them that these products live up to those expectations. I'm not sure what the right language is, because I think the problem with ethical could be, you're talking about this ethical consumption choice, but I can't do it for one of those reasons, so I feel bad. You're saying I'm not ethical, but of course I'm ethical. I believe I'm ethical. So it's almost like a negative thing, and we know people run away from negative. So I think it is a very interesting challenge to recognise that people want this and expect it, and to find a way to talk about it that is not threatening, that can engage the vast majority of consumers who want to move in that direction. I'm sorry, I haven't got an easy answer, but I think I've only got problems.
いや、大変エキサイティングです。サフィアさんどうですか？
I get quite what's the word, frustrated when people say, you know, oh, sustainable products, they're not quite as accessible, they're not quite as bendy, you know, as a conventional product. You know, and it's so silly, isn't it? You know, it would be so easy for me to run a business where I use slave labor and I strip the planet, and then I use my big fat profit margins to spend on advertising and games and, you know, basically seduce you all to buy my product. That's so easy, but it's so difficult to do all the right things, do fair trade and craft and organic and bring it in by sea freight and then have enough money to spend on marketing and make it super accessible for everyone. You know, it is just, it's strange, isn't it, that that's not obvious. Don't you think?
But are we talking about, if we're talking about the language, are we talking about, you know, this is made the right way, this is done best, this is quality, this is what quality means,
Yes.
rather than saying this is, the only reason for buying this is it's ethical, it kind of implies
it's
there's
got
no other reason.
No, it's got to be design and it's got to be
design,
quality. And I know there was a recent research study that said, you know, after price, it's about the comfort, the fit, and the design. So, you know, that your organic cotton is breathable, it feels great to wear. You know, that's actually super important to people. So we do need to tell the stories better, for sure.
But I was even saying that
So,
it being made the right way is part of it being high quality. Yeah.
Right. Can I, one of the things I've noticed with my customers is that they are very good at telling stories and connecting what they do and how everything is made to their customers. That's where the growth has been in my cotton, are them, the way they're doing it. We have, Wonderlooper has a live stream every Saturday morning that all kinds of people watch and learn. A number of these customers have live streams, and they have their loyal customers. And they're educating them about all of these things that we're talking about. And I feel that there's this element of, you know, when people get it when they're being given a bunch of baloney by all the billionaire marketing, they know it's fake. And when you are around something authentic, you feel it. You feel it with people, you feel it when you put it on, and it gives you some sort of energy. And you notice it and you want it, and you will save up for it. Now, I'm not trying to minimize the need for things that are less costly. I'm just saying that often people will recognize this, and not be by preaching, but by recognizing how it helps them feel better, and then they want to support the businesses that are doing it. So it's not preaching, it's in. So.
体験することは重要ですね。私もオーガニックコットンで縫製をされている工場の方にお話聞いたんですけど、オーガニックコットンで縫製し始めてから手が荒れなくなったと。で、実はですね、このエシカルがファッションの領域で広まりにくいのは、食の分野はあっという間に広がったんです。それは健康被害が出るから、自分の体に反応が出るじゃないですか。で、ファッションはなかなか口から入らないので健康には直結しないように思うんですが、今のサリさんのお話を聞いていると、本当にオーガニックコットンをまとうと癒されるという、そういう効果は絶対あると思いますし、私はサフィアさんがやっぱりフェアトレードのものは地味だ、ね、おしゃれじゃないって言われてたフェアトレードを塗り替えた方なんです。 そういう入り口を作ったんです、サフィアさん。だから本当に今マーケットの中ではみんながとりわけ若い人が憧れる領域にはなってるんだけど、価格がねちょっと高いんじゃないのっていう意見もあります。とりわけ若い方買えないんですよみたいな話を聞くんですけど、私は量を買わずにね、自分の本当に気に入ったものを見つけて長く使うことが一番エシカルで、しかも少し高いなと思った分は未来への投資じゃないと。でさっきゴードンさんもおっしゃったんですけど、生き続けたいと思うのが人間です。この地球を滅ぼしたいって思ってる人は多分いないと思うんです。ただその気持ちをですね、私たちがやっぱり本当に真面目に受け取るならば、一つ一つの日々の行動ですとか知ることですとか、そういったことを変えていかなきゃいけないかなっていうふうに今強く思いました。ありがとうございます。ちょっと時間が迫ってきましたので次の質問いってよろしいでしょうか。これはサリーさんにお聞きしたいんですが、火星に行くことはエシカルと考えますか？ Do you think it would be ethical to move to Mars? どうですか、サリーさん。
Do you want? Okay, well, I spoke to my expert friend, who can't be named, I'm so sorry to say, but we have good knowledge. And she explained that it takes 2 months to get to Mars and 6 months to get back. And that the big issue for anything living going to Mars and back are the radiation that is expressed and released when the sun flares happen, which are unpredictable. And so how we as humans have been solving our curiosity about our universe has been with sending robots to Mars and collecting samples and bringing them back. This way, we solve the problem of learning. But the idea of sending anything living to Mars is pretty science fiction, according to this expert.
エキスパートがおっしゃった SF ですね。今それが全ての答えかな。皆さんいかがですか？もううなずかれてますがわかりました。本当にね接してらっしゃる方だとそういうことですね。ちょっと質問の以前の話だったのかしら、ごめんなさい。でちょっともう一つですね、今現代的な話として AI っていうのがもう社会にも浸透して本当にこう火星Okay.
Can I say one more thing on Mars?
One more thing? Okay. Please.
I just wanted to say that, let's say there's a 1% chance that we can get humans to Mars sometime in the next 500 years, right? It's not going to solve our problems. So talking about escaping to Mars is not helping. That's all I want to say. So when people say, oh, we can just move humanity to Mars, so don't worry about it, that's just an excuse not to act now. Yeah, that's all.
わかりました。もう火星とかに行くことを考える前に地球を良くしましょうね。とにかくね。はい、そういうことだと思います。はい。で次は AI なんですけど、AI についてはいかがでしょう。この AI がやはり今もう人間の社会どんどんこう進化もあり変化もあり。いろいろな意味でネガティブな部分、ポジティブな部分出てきてます。ポジティブな部分もすごく多いと思いますよ。便利になる。ただ便利って実はね、両面あるじゃないですか。非常に効率とか便利というのが人間の首を絞めていくようなこともあり、私たちを助けてくれることもある。本当に難しい領域なんですが、AI に関してはどうですか？エシカルと。アリサちゃんどうですか？
そうですね、AI についてはもう本当に今いろんな人が議論していて、なんかベーシックな議論としてよくあるのは、AI は道具だからという話で、包丁でもなんかインターネットでも車でも使い方によって良くも悪くもなるから、 AI も使い方によって良くも悪くもなるっていう話と、もう一つ今までの道具と違うところは、勝手に考えるという、道具は人間が使うためのものだったけれども AI は勝手に考えるというところが今までと違うので、何が起きるかみたいな、いろんな議論があるんですけど、一個物理的に本当にもう分かりやすく問題があるとしたら、めちゃくちゃ水を使う、めちゃくちゃエネルギーを使うというところが、本当にこの我々が AI に話しかけることで非常にエネルギーを使う、でそれを冷却するために水が必要であるっていう、物理的な環境負荷 が非常に高いというところで、もちろん便利な道具として使うところと、でもそれがどんなインパクトを与えるのか知るべきっていうところは、これは今までのものづくりとも同じだと思いますけど、インパクトと合わせて便利さを考える必要があるのかなと思います。
そうですね、いつもセットでやってきますね。便利であることがそうやって地球環境に負荷をかけること、私も今目に見えてますよね。エネルギーの問題ですとか。はい、ゴードンどうですか。
So on the environmental question, obviously anything that increases the use of energy and therefore fossil fuels, which generate greenhouse gas emissions, is problematic. But we need to keep AI a little bit in context, because compared to the airline industry, for example, or the agricultural industry, AI is minuscule. It's growing fast. We have to watch it. We have to promote it using renewables, etc. I mean, there's definitely problems there, but we need to keep it in scale. But there are some other problems about AI which perhaps also of concern. It's not so much that AI will take jobs away, but it will change jobs in ways that have different impacts on different people. And we need to make sure that the people who, many people will find AI a tool that is useful and makes them much more able to do their job, much more creative, have a much more convenient life. And there are things we'll need to learn about when to trust AI and when not to. So there's definitely a massive population skill development question that has to be addressed. But there's also this question of differential impacts on jobs and people's concerns about whether AI will take their job or more likely change their job. And for many of us, changing the job is something that happens many times in our lives. We get different skills. Like I remember when computers first came in, and people who were typists lost their job, but they mostly got other jobs. And people who weren't typists had to learn how to type, and had to learn how to use those tools. And so that's a little bit what's going on now with AI in terms of the day-to-day in the workplace. But there are people who won't be able to adapt, and we have to think about, well, what is their livelihood? What is their source of income? I think that's definitely another question that's important beyond the question of the environmental impact as well.
はい、ありがとうございます。私たちの社会をエシカルに進化させる上では、欠かせないというか抜けなくてはいけないこの AI との共生の問題かと思うんですけれども、大丈夫ですか？あとは皆さん大丈夫かな？はい。サリーさん一言。
Yes, my same friend who knew about Mars pointed out that if we had a system like a miles per gallon for AI, so we knew how much energy some simple little question is actually causing or needing, we might be able to use it more responsibly. So I thought that was a very useful idea, a rating system of the energy use of AI that we could use in deciding if we want to use it as a tool.
We could have sustainability ratings for all the different AIs. I mean, I think the Chinese one was said to use like 1/10 or 1/20 of the energy.
そうですね。サフィアさん。
We at Fashion Declares we run carbon literacy courses for fashion and retail businesses, and I think that's one of the areas that people are really surprised at, that when they're using AI, they're sometimes using as much as 8 tons of CO2 of greenhouse gas emission of tonnage a year, when we all in the global north should be trying to bring our 10 tons of CO2 down to about 2 tons of CO2 per year. So I think it is a really important point, the measurement system and how we communicate it per organization, per person.
そこに AI の力を借りるということはありかなというお話だと思うんですが、お話は尽きないんですけれども、もう本当に時間が限られてきてしまって、最後の質問とさせていただきます。今回のこのテーマアジェンダの一番大きなテーマの一つだと、50年後の地球ですね。50年後でなくてもいいです。10年後でも20年後でもいいです。どのようにこの地球があってほしいと想像しますか？それぞれの皆さんのちょっと思い描く次の 地球というのをお話しいただきたい。How do you imagine the Earth in 50 years time? 大きな質問ですが、どうですか？
ask
ど
the
なたから
farmer.
行かれますか？
Ask the farmer first. Most important person.
Oh, thank
じゃ
you.
あサリーさん
Okay.
お願いします。
Arigatou gozaimasu. I want, this is the world I want. I want the world where we understand, we have, instead of Google Translate for each other's languages, human languages, we have we have Translate for animals, that all the animals that vocalize. At least we will have that down in 50 years, I think. And I think we will have the way plants communicate with each other or with chemicals that are emitted in the air and also through their root systems to each other. I believe we might have the sophistication to understand their communications. And my dream is that with this knowledge, we will return to where we were once for a very long time, where we are part of a living system instead of thinking we're dominating living systems. That's my dream.
はい、有沙さんどうですか？
はい、すごい素敵なお話の後でハードルが高いんですけれども私がこのファッション産業に関わるようになって15年で、この15年ですごくいろんなことが変わったので、50年ってかなりたくさんのことが変わると思うんですよね。まあ、このファッションに限らず、例えばテクノロジーの側面を見ても、具体的な製品の名前を挙げるのはあれかもしれないですけど iPhone もなかったわけですし、AI もこの15年前はなかった、一般的に使われていなかったで、これだけ人々の生活に入ってくるっていうことは意外とドラスティックに社会は変わると思うと、50年経った時に例えばこの2020年代を振り返って、あの時なんかものすごいペースで物を作って捨ててたよねみたいな、すごい消費スピードの時代があったらしいよみたいな感じで懐かしく振り返るような、要はそうじゃなくなっていてほしいということなんですけれども、今まで物が十分になかった時代には安定的にたくさん作るっていうことが、人々のニーズだったわけですよね。食べ物が行き渡って、服が行き渡って、いろいろなものが行き渡るっていうことに向かってみんなが努力をしてきたら、どんどん速くなって、ファッションでいうとファストファッションが出てきて、今はウルトラファストファッションもあって、で、それをどうするっていう話をみんなが共有し始めたので、じゃあ別のところに知恵を使おうってなってほしいなと。そうすると、資源が限りあるということは分かってきたし、じゃあそれをどうやって循環させるのかとか、どうやって自然を再生しながらものを作れるのかとか、どうやって人々がみんなバランスよく富を得ながら生きていけるのか、そういったところにみんなが知恵を使い始めると、そういう社会になっていって、50年後には50年前すごかったらしいよと振り返れるようになってほしいなと思っております。
ありがとうございます。素敵なメッセージです。後藤さんいかがですか？
I think this is a very difficult question. If I think about 50 years ago, there are so many things that are the same. There's cars, there's buildings, there's pollution, there's unemployment, there's economic instability, and there are so many things that are different. There's technological things like iPhones and AIs. And there's also much more instability in the world, although compared to 100 years ago, maybe it's the same. And so, I'm reminded of that saying that goes, things always happen much more slowly than you think they will, except when they happen much faster. So it's really hard to predict what the Earth will be like. What do I want it to be like? I suppose, the point one of you two made earlier around being able to get to have conversations between people based on actual facts and without putting self-interest to the fore, so that we can have those collaborative solutions, so we can have a way of life which solves each of the problems that our society meets as they come up in a way which respects everybody's interests and is based on a fair understanding of what's actually the truth of the situation, or the range of possible truths, and not giving too much voice to things which are either completely made up or very surface thought level stuff which doesn't really understand what's going on. So that collaboration based on truth, if I want to put it into 4 words.
素敵です。オネストダイアログね、オネストセッションの世界ですね。はい、ソフィアさんどうですか？
Well, I want all three. I suppose to build. I think we're really, at a fork in the roads, and we really, with great energy, we need to be, backing change. A democratic change, a redistributive change, that reconnection with each other and reconnection with the earth and nature, and really an engagement with the importance for democracy in changing to the positive. So, of course, I would like to see a just transition so that we move away from the growth principle of the economy to something that is about valuing what's really important. And in fact, after the Second World War, we looked at social liberal democracy. We valued, for example, access to good education, healthcare, a democratic process. And we have recently come to a very dangerous point where actually these things are not being valued, and profit at whatever cost is a driver. So yeah, I think we're at a very important crossroads.
はい。ありがとうございました。動物と人間が共生する地球で同じく会話できる地球であったり AI との力も借りてでも捨てない地球ですかね。アリサさんもおっしゃってこんなことがあったんだ。あと、ゴドンさんはですねオネストダイアログということです。人間が心と心でハートフルにダイアログして嘘偽りなくいろんな情報交換できるような社会が理想なんじゃないかということと、最後はですね、もっともっと地球とつながろうとね、サフィアさんはおっしゃってます。私もこれだけのお話をお聞きしてですね、本当に思ったことは、さっき人間は生き続けたいと思ってる生き物です。ですので皆がですね生き続けたいと思う地球になるといいなと思ってます。でそのためのイノベーションがたくさん起こればいいかなと。 AI の力を借りてもいいし、いろんな意味で私たちが、生きる場があり、誰にとっても生きる場所があって、お互いが助け合いられるような、そんなことがエシカルなリビングの世界に近づく道かなと今日皆さんのお話を聞いて思いました。どうも今日は皆さんありがとうございました。4人の登壇者の皆様に拍手をお願いします。
Thank you very much.
とても
Thank you.
そしてこのいい機会をいただきました教会の皆様にも感謝申し上げたいと思います。どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. This concludes the session. Again, thank you, Ms. Ikoma, and all the speakers for truly inspiring and thought-provoking input. 皆様、今一度大きな拍手をお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。以上をもちまして、大阪・関西万博テーマウィークアジェンダ2025セッション3エシカルリビングの促進を終了とさせていただきます。That concludes Expo Osaka Kansai Theme Week's Agenda Session 3 Promoting Ethical Living。皆様、本日はテーマウィークへのご参加誠にありがとうございました。